Hello, 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 everyone. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about fabric centers for doilies, actually, for doilies. I know it sounds kind of weird that I'm talking about doilies, but yeah, today that's what we're going to talk about. I found myself in a position where I really wanted a fabric center so that I could start a doily because I had this idea for my Mediterranean knotted lace. Although this does apply to, of course, crocheted, knitted, bobbin lace, or tatted doilies as well. So this is kind of a just a general fun little video that I want to talk about centers for doilies. So you can, of course, do center out doilies. This is just a little motif that I did in the Mediterranean knotted lace. And I started it from the center and worked my way out. And you can do that with all of the different crafts that I just talked about. But sometimes it's nice to be able to start with a fabric center and then work your edging around it. And that's what I wanted to do. So I'm going to show you the finished one. This is my little finished doily. It's very springy with the little, I think they look like little tulip flower edging. But I was trying to figure out how exactly I could take a center like this and make a center. So clearly this one turned out okay. But it was quite the adventure. And I will, of course, turn the camera down and show you all of my little centers in detail. But it was quite the adventure because I was very easily able to do a blanket stitched edge, which is what this one is. So this one has a blanket stitched edging that I have used. It's actually that is the front side, good. You can see along the edge here that I've done a blanket stitch, and then I've done my Mediterranean knotted stitch over that to make my basic loops. And it worked beautifully, and I didn't have any issues with it, and it was, it didn't take that long. It was a little dab of handwork. And the nice thing is when you are trying to make these centers, you can make them to any size that you want. You can make them any shape that you want. So you could do a heart, you could do a star, you could do, I made one kind of accidentally, but I sort of love it. It's a little octagon. It's not my finest work, but it's kind of cute, so I might use it anyway. So you could do ovals, you can do diamonds. There's so many different ways that you can do it, but I, of course, was doing a round one, and round centers present a little different problem because you don't just have your warp and your weft that you're worrying about. That's the threads that run up and down and left to right. You also have to worry about the bias, which makes your threads wiggle. And because of that, you have to do a little more prep. So for my blanket stitch, I didn't have to do any prep. I just blanket stitched around and I didn't have a lot of pulling. It wasn't really an issue. I did a serged round because, of course, this is an option. And again, I cut my circle. I did my serging. Doesn't look too bad. And by the time you put the edging around here, it'll look pretty decent. So this one was fine. But I ran into some issues when I was trying to do my rounds, and I was trying to either stitch them or use a crochet chain edging. And I also had issues with my rolled hem. So anyway, I ended up with 6 different ways that you can finish the edge to use for a center for a doily. But I wanted to show you some of my rejects or some of my not so lovely pieces. So this one is vaguely round, kind of, but clearly my edge is too wide. I've overfolded it in places when I was trying to iron this down. I was trying to use a decorative stitching to sort of hide that. Didn't really work. But I thought that it was a really interesting study in how not to do something, so I wanted to show it to you. And then same issue with this rolled hem. It's too wide in places. It's sort of okay in others, but clearly I didn't really get a round center. Again, here's a crocheted version, but I was trying to go through both the front and then the back flap. So I was trying to do sort of a folded edge, and I had issues again. I tried to iron these so that I had a nice fold. in order to do it and make it. And it doesn't look terrible. You know, I could use this one. It's not terrible, but it's not as pretty as I want. It's not the finished center that I would want to use in order to start my project on. And here's one again. It's a little bit better, but it's not fabulous. So I started talking to Tina, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm really frustrated. I can't fold these right. Like, my ironing looks terrible. My stitching looks terrible. I'm having so much trouble getting a really nice round doily. And she said, Kelly, are you doing a stay stitch? And I'm like, what's a stay stitch? I don't know what a stay stitch is. Apparently it's, I don't know why they call it a stay stitch. I mean, I guess it kind of, you're trying to make your fabric stay, whatever. It's a line of stitching that you sew, and I'll see if I can grab one, 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of your fabric. So that's this guy on the outside here. And you could do it further in, but I was trying to keep my edges pretty thin. So you sew it 1/8 of an inch in, and then when you go to make your fold, even if you're doing, and I didn't even iron this one. I did the stay stitch, and then I just sort of hand folded it in as it was going through the machine. I don't think it turned out too badly. It's fairly round. My stitching leaves a little to be desired, but it's a fairly round center. But then you use your top stitching, and here's one with the zigzag stitch. And I was trying to keep this one really close to the edge, which I did really well in some places and not very well in others. So I'm not the world's best sewist, but it's good practice. Anyway, that stay stitch made a huge difference, not just in the 2 sewn samples, but I also went ahead and I used that stay stitch method, and you can see it right here along the edge of my rolled hem. And I will flip the camera down and show you these again. But I then hand sewed a little rolled hem edged one, and this one could be a little bit better. I got just a little bit too deep in places, like right along here. But I was able to do a much better job in terms of keeping my edging thin and maintaining the shape of my center by using that stay stitch. And then I thought, well, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I want to do that crochet chain, but instead of doing a folded edge, I left it a raw edge, went ahead and put the stay stitch in, which was really nice then because I could see kind of along that edge about how far away I was from my stitching, so that I could try to make my little crochet hole and my crochet chain edge just a little bit tidier. And again, you know, is this perfect? No. Is it pretty decent? Yes. Would I use it? Absolutely. And the nice thing is I now have a few of these so that I can show them to you in class. Because I will be using these little examples for my class in Mediterranean Knotted Lace at the Winter Lace Conference out in Costa Mesa, California in a couple of weeks. But it was also nice because I could show it to you on the video. So I am going to turn the camera down and we'll take a little closer look at these. All right, so let's take a little closer look at, let's see, the 1, 2, technically this is 3, 4, 5 examples that I have. Now I do have a 6th option for finishing these edges, but I don't have an example yet. I am waiting on my wing needle to come so that I can do the hem stitch, and I will talk about that as well here in just a minute. So let's take a little closer look. All right, let's start with the finished piece because that's the easiest one. So this one here, you can clearly see that I've done a blanket stitch, that I have run it along the edge of my center, and then I've gone over that and gone ahead and made my knots on the actual fabric of my doily center. And this is nice. I can now, you know, set a vase on top of this or a bowl on top of this, and I'm still going to have my little edging that pops around it that will, you know, show it off. There we go, my little flowers. but I haven't wasted, well, it's not really a waste of time, but I haven't spent extra time making a center from that center out in the Mediterranean knotted lace like I did with this one. So that's the difference, is I could have started with something like this, worked my way out, and then finished my edging. But what I really wanted to do was I wanted the fabric, and I wanted to be able to attach an edging to the fabric. So the blanket stitch worked fine. It was, you know, I hand stitched this. I would do it again, no issues. Here's the serger edge. And again, I did this without the stay stitch. Probably could have used the stay stitch. I need to figure out how to set this. I think that I can set this tighter on my machine too, so that I have an even thinner edge on my serger. But again, I just went ahead and I serged this at home, and it'll work just fine. And then we get into the ones that I stay stitched, like Tina recommended. So here's the first one. You can see where I ran my, right here, this outer edge one, where I ran my like 1/8 of an edge stay stitch around my circle. And then I went ahead and I folded this down and I sewed it, and I did okay. You know, I could have been a little more even, but sewing circles is not super easy. But you know, this is fairly round, and a lot of this will be hidden with the knots anyway, from Mediterranean knotted lace, or you could tat over this edging and no one would really notice, I don't think. Same idea here. This one I just used a zigzag stitch. I was trying to go very much along the edge. I did pretty well. I got a little bit off up in here, and again, I was just sort of hand folding this down, but I used that stay stitch again to help hold my fabric in place, so that I was able to make a much better, much rounder center. And then here is the rolled hem. Now, I could have done a little better job with my rolled hem edge. I got too deep in places, like up in here. This is just a little too deep when I was doing my rolled hem, and so then when I pulled it, it was a little too deep. And part of that could have been because I wasn't as even with this stay stitch as I should have been. Part of it just could have been my hand sewing, but definitely a viable option, and I would use this one and try it again. I haven't ironed this one yet either. I think it looks pretty good for not even being ironed. And then there's this one again. So I have that stay stitch around the edge, and then I've come in with that crochet chain. And what I discovered with this was that having a nice sharp crochet hook was really important, and that you need to really push that crochet hook through to make a decent hole so that you can grab your thread and pull it through. But again, I would use this. I'm not ashamed of this. I mean, I could have done a little bit better, but honestly, it didn't bother me at all. And what I would do is I would crochet and pull a loop through, and then do a little single stitch so that it would lock in the back, and then crochet and pull a loop through, and then do a single stitch so that it locked in the back. And that's why you have slightly different shapes. You've got the V shape on the back, and you have this post on the front. But all in all, I thought they turned out pretty well. All right, so we had a good look at a few of the different ways that you can finish your raw edges so that you can make a center of whatever size that you need from just raw fabric. And the only one I did not have an example of was that hem stitched version. Now, the hem stitched version is basically that traditional eyelet shape that you see on a lot of commercial centers. And it's true, you could just buy a center. But if you're in a time crunch, or you don't know quite where to order one, although we can get them for the shop, this is a great option. You can go ahead and you can make your own, and you can go ahead and make the hem stitched center as well. You use a wing needle or a hem stitch needle. That's the other thing that it's called. And again, this is something that Tina told me about. I'm like, what's a wing needle? I don't know what a wing needle is. I've now ordered one for my machine, but I haven't yet received it so that I can try it out and make a hem stitched edged center. But that is on the list. It will happen. And I may do another video and show you all the hem stitch as well. But basically, you use a wing needle, and what it does is it has a very wide shaft with little wings out to the sides, and when it pushes through the fabric, it makes a bigger hole. It's the same idea as the crochet hook and pushing it further through so that you make a bigger hole in your fabric so that it's easier to pull your crochet chain through. But with the hem stitch, what's nice is you can do that stay stitch that we talked about, do a gentle fold, and then just hem stitch right along the very edge so that it punches, because that wing needle makes a bigger hole, it pre-punches the hole that you would then make your knots through for Mediterranean knotted lace, or that you could attach via a join on a tatted edging, or you could then sew through with a knitted edging, or you could crochet through with a crochet edging. So anyway, that hem stitch, all it does is it gives you the pre-made holes, versus these other versions don't give you the pre-made holes. And again, like I said, you can just buy a pre-made center. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you have, you know, a specific size in mind, a specific shape in mind that you want to do, or, you know, you're experimenting, you end up with this super cute little octagon. And this one is double folded. I discovered that double folding didn't work quite as well as single folding. It's not that you couldn't do it. I would just have to start with a much bigger round, I feel. Anyway, this is a cute little double fold octagon. Isn't this adorable? I like this little guy. I'm definitely going to have to make something for this. But yeah, you can make whatever shape or size you want, and the only thing that's holding you back is your imagination. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. I think it's really fun, and anyway, it's just one of those little rabbit holes that I fell down when it came time to put together my booklet and work on my Mediterranean knotted lace for my class in February. So anyway, if you have the chance, come see us at Winter Lace Conference down in Costa Mesa, California. It's February, I think, 18th through the 20th. Does that sound right? Yes. Anyway, Costa Mesa, California. Just make sure that you are registered for the conference. I'm pretty sure you can still do that at the time of this video. Even if you're late, I'll take you in my class. I'm teaching Mediterranean knotted lace on Friday, and then I'm doing Estonian knitted lace on Saturday, Sunday. Super fun. And I have, yeah, I have a bunch of stuff to bring, a bunch of stuff. We're bringing a bunch of stuff, so we're vending as well. Anyway, so I hope to see you there, and if I don't, then I hope that you make sure that you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, that you have liked and followed our Facebook page, that you're following us on our TikTok channel, that you are following us on our Instagram channel, and that you have gone to blacksheepfiberemporium.com and done a little surfing and a little shopping so that you can find some goodies for yourself. We have a ton of fun things in, from sashiko and embroidery kits to thread, tons of thread, and fabulous yarn. We have some hand dyers, and we also have one of our very favorites, which is the Studio Donegal line. So we have the Soft, the Aran, the Heathers, and the Darney. We're a little low on a lot of that stock because it's been a little hard to keep it in stock, to be perfectly honest. But hopefully we'll get a big new shipment here. If you're looking for Darney, we have a ton of that. It's a beautiful fingering weight tweed yarn. And anyway, I can definitely recommend it. All right, I wandered off topic. Okay, so like I like to say at the end of my videos, please take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and craftually. Make sure that you're doing at least 15 minutes of crafting every day. If you're watching this, you must be a crafter like I am. And I know that just that 15 minutes a day of crafting is a huge help to my mental health, and I'm sure it will be to yours. So, you know, do that 15 minutes of crafting. Please take care of yourself, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of the videos that we put up. Make sure that you're following us on all the social media, because again, you don't want to miss what we're posting about. And please go to blacksheepfiberemporium.com for all of your knitting, crochet, tatting, spinning, weaving, embroidery, fun stuff needs, because we love making sure that we have the tools and materials that you need to craft, because, you know, we'd like to do it too. So, all right, I will see you guys later. Bye.